Hello everyone and welcome back to What a Barb, a Polin podcast. I'm Obs and today I'm joined by Lecky and a very special guest who will be joining us shortly. We're really excited about today's episode and we can't wait to get started. But first, Lecky, I suppose I should ask, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. You have some exciting news, however. You and Veg.
I don't think it's exciting.
It's pretty exciting. For Regency fans.
Yes, for Regency fans, we finally went to see Pride and Prej.
You and Veg.
Pride and Prej and Veg, as the day was known.
Yeah.
Oh, and isn't it just gorgeous?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went with my husband, and Beans also went, I think, with some friends.
It changed Beans' life again.
Oh, yeah. My husband, he'd never seen it, and he really liked it. He really liked Donald Sutherland's performance, which I was really glad that he praised Donald Sutherland because he's one of my favorite characters, and I feel like he brings so much charm and heart to that film.
Mm-hmm. It's just every single frame.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's not a single thing I would change about it. Mm-hmm. Although we were wondering if they were going to play the American version because it's a re-release. So we didn't know if they were just going to release. No, it was the UK version. We were very happy.
Oh, that's hilarious. I was also telling my husband about the controversy. For our American listeners, I don't know if you know this, but in the UK, they don't have the big romantic scene with the kiss at the end in the UK. And it caused a scandal when it originally came out or something, I think, too.
Yeah. So in the UK, it ends when Lizzie runs away and then Mr. Bennet is just laughing to himself. That's how it ends.
Shame.
Whereas they added a scene on for the American audience. Make of that what you will. So if an English audience saw it, they'd be like, what the hell is this that they've tacked on to the end? But speaking of Pride and Prejudice, last week, the four of us, we watched Fire Island.
Yes, which is the Andrew Ahn directed film, and it's basically an LGBTQ version of Pride and Prejudice. And it's super cute. It moved me to tears. I will say, spoiler alert, jump ahead 5-10 seconds if you haven't seen it. But the guy who plays Darcy at the very end was taken down a notch because apparently he doesn't like dogs.
I have never seen Lecky's face fall so fast in all my life. She was so... it's such a great film. You have to watch it.
Yeah, it's really great.
And such a good adaptation.
Yeah, and Bowen Yang plays basically Jane. Mm-hmm. And his love story brought me to tears. I feel like that was maybe my favorite part of the film. Mostly because Darcy at the end, just not a dog lover.
She was loving it. And then, he says something vaguely and Lecky's face just dropped.
He is a really good Darcy, though, because he has that kind of aloof social awkwardness to him, which is just perfect. It was really good.
He just had such a presence in every single frame he was in.
Yeah.
So, Andrew Ahn.
Highly recommend it.
Go see it. Also see his new movie as well.
The Wedding Banquet.
And speaking of things I saw this week, I finally got around to seeing Richard II.
Yes.
It's closing next week, and I was like, if I don't get around to seeing it, I never am.
Yeah, you'll miss it.
Glad to have seen that. And you know what, speaking of going to theatre and everything, before we jump into the episode, should we quickly snack on the breaking crumbs of the week? What have you got for us, Lecky?
Production on season 4 really is in the final few days now, which feels quite bittersweet. We will miss the crumbs, few though they may have been this time around, but it's a big step closer to the eventual release of the show. But there are some great season 4 crumbs to be enjoyed.
In these very crumbs that you're bringing me now.
It has been officially announced the West End actress Gracie McGonigal will be joining the cast of season 4 as the new character Hazel. We did already know about Gracie's casting. You may remember she was spotted in the stills and the behind-the-scenes footage that was released on Valentine's Day as a maid in the Bridgerton house, but it is so exciting to have an official confirmation and to find out more information about the character of Hazel. In an exclusive feature by the Radio Times, Hazel is described as a young maid who has faced a difficult path, but who remains lively, full of energy, and quick to form friendships despite her challenges. As highlighted by the Radio Times, Gracie's casting is being seen as a milestone moment for inclusivity in the series, given she is the first cast member of the show with a congenital limb deficiency. We are so thrilled to welcome Gracie and Hazel to the show. We really can't wait to see the role she'll play and the bond she will form with, most likely, Sophie herself.
That's who we're thinking. And you know what? That girl needs a good friend, eh?
In other news, Nicola Coughlan was recently interviewed by Allocine about Penelope's storyline in season 4, where she said, every year there's always something new to play with her. It's funny because she becomes famous and she really doesn't know what to do with it. And she's not sure if she likes it or not. And now she's a mother. I was actually happy when they released a picture of her baby. He's extremely cute. Children don't appear in many scenes because they're babies and they can't work too much. But when they are, he's so cute.
So she's going to struggle with being famous. How do we feel? That'll be fun.
Yeah, I feel like that's a sign that her storyline will be a lot lighter this season because that'll probably be part of the comic relief with her struggling to be Lady Whistledown now that Lady Whistledown is known.
Portia's going to love it.
Yeah.
But they could find also genuine depth with it as well. Like, it could be very sincere as well, like funny, but then she's actually struggling. And I mean, who knows what role she'll actually play as Whistledown. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. Nicola also reflected on working with Yaren Ha, saying Yaren is a real treat. Everyone adores her. She's a real ray of sunshine. She's lovely. Slight season 4 spoilers ahead, so skip a few seconds if you'd rather avoid, but it's believed that Janet Sterling will be making an appearance in 407 thanks to a behind-the-scenes crumb that was uncovered by fans. It has not been officially confirmed at this point, but book fans will definitely be interested in the rumor, seen as though Janet Sterling is John's mom from the books. So perhaps we will have some tragic mourning taking place if John does die. Lovely.
Something to look forward to? God help us.
Our beloved plant daddy, Chris Fulton, recently attended the LandCon.
It's Outlander Convention. Oh, if there's a Bridgerton one, it'll be called the TonCon.
The TonCon.
Let's start. We'll see you next year in London for the first ever TonCon.
There were reports that Chris denied being part of the cast for season 4, but gave very little away about future seasons. It's worth noting that Chris will be in a pretty tricky position, definitely not wanting to give too much away about his involvement in future seasons either way. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to say he was in an upcoming season if the show wants to keep it a surprise, kind of like they did with Victor Alley's casting in season 3, which was a surprise until it dropped, and Chris's own appearances in season 1. Of course, we would love to see Sir Philip in season 4, but we will see.
Lucky, do you think Philip, season 4, yay or nay? Not what you want, what you truly believe.
I'm gonna yay it, and I would like...
You've always been a creature of hope at heart, though, like. I think that's a fundamental schism between the two of us.
This is what I would like. I'd like a tease of the letters, and I would like to see a footman picking up a tray of letters, delivering it to, like, a desk, and you see, like, a man from behind or a man's hand reaching for the letter.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to be... I think if he is in it, he will just sort of, like you say, like, be inferred.
Silhouette.
Yeah, rather than actually, like, be walking around, hanging out.
Yeah.
I still maintain he should have been in season 3. I can, like, imagine how he would have been in season 3.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know.
There have also been a few crumbs to suggest that work on season 5 is already underway, specifically for the script writing, so Philoise season really might be closer than we all think. A new trailer has also been released for To Doom 2025, which is taking place in LA on May 31st. Interestingly, a tiny clip of season 3 Benedict was shown in the trailer, but Bridgerton was not mentioned by name at any point. Notably, there's a section on the To Doom website where it says, the show is stacked with Netflix news and exclusive reveals about titles you won't want to miss, including your favorite stars from, and then it lists a bunch of shows with Bridgerton conspicuously absent. In fairness, it does say and more at the end of the list, but Bridgerton is one of Netflix's biggest shows, so it would most likely be a featured title.
I wonder if, because that list of shows was specifically for stars that will be appearing at Tudum in some format. So I wonder if there'll be some sort of Bridgerton news or content, but the stars themselves won't be part of it.
Yeah, maybe.
But Benedict was there. He was spotted.
But it was season 3 footage. I wonder if they'll just share some of the same things we already saw on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, maybe just reshare that trailer. We will see.
They are finishing production really late.
It is running a little bit behind schedule.
There aren't strikes this time around, but still, we'll see how it goes.
You know what? At least we didn't have to look for blurry Claudia Jessie in that. Do you remember? For Tudum, God knows which one.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was a blurry Luke, too. It was blurry Luke and Claudia. Do you remember?
Yeah, just like the tiny flashes. And everyone was like, is that Claude? And then they're like, it looks like that hairstyle that she had a few weeks ago that was shed by her stylist on Instagram.
Yeah. The olden days. Hilariously, the Chaise Longue from 305 has been nominated for a Shorty Award, an international award show that recognizes and celebrates the innovation and creativity in digital and social media. The Chaise is a finalist in the single poster activation category for its appearance on TikTok, where it bravely spoke out about its experience on the show. Its leg was broken, so it's broken its silence. Our thoughts are with the Chaise during its continued recovery. Our next rewatch episode will actually feature the scene in question, so I hope we don't re-traumatize it too much. Apologies.
Very brave of you.
In more awards news, Netflix have submitted cast members for season 3 for Emmy consideration. Nicola Coughlan and Luke Newton will be submitted for Best Drama Actress and Actor, respectively, while Daniel Francis, Martin Zimongbe, and Luke Thompson will be submitted for Best Supporting Actor. Adjoa Ando, Claudia Jessie, and Golda Rochevelle will also be submitted for Best Supporting Actress. I will confess that I was super disappointed not to see Polly Walker submitted as well, because she really was phenomenal in season 3, and Jess Madsen, while we're at it.
And Ruth Gemmell, I think this is the issue, isn't it? There's just so many comedy.
But especially Polly Walker. She deserved it. I will just say that. But best of luck to everyone who has been submitted. We're rooting for you all. Season 3 director Andrew Ahn was interviewed by Shondaland to mark the release of his new movie, The Wedding Banquet. During the interview, Andrew talked about the work he's done since directing Bridgerton, including his work on Deli Boys and The Wedding Banquet. He shared his thoughts and process on reimagining such a classic movie. Andrew also reflected on his time on Bridgerton, saying, "Every now and then people find out I directed Bridgerton and ask which episodes. I'll tell them episodes 3 and 4, and they'll say, 'The carriage scene? You directed the carriage scene?' And I say, 'Yes,' and they fangirl for a moment. It's very cool. I'm really glad I got to be part of such a special TV moment." He also reflected on the personal impact of the show on his career, saying, "Bridgerton really gave people a sense of the scale of what I could do, not just the level of production, but also the sweep of emotion, the genre of romance, the intimacy between characters. I think it was a turning point." Mm-hmm. In cast news, earlier this week, Nicola Coughlan was honored at the Con series as the 2025 recipient of the Konbini Commitment Award. The award recognizes those in the industry who are actively making change well beyond television and who have distinguished themselves by the artistic quality and societal, innovative, and revolutionary dimension of their work. Nicola also led a masterclass session where she reflected upon her advocacy work and the importance of using her voice within and beyond the industry. Speaking of Nicola, the National Theatre in London announced that Nicola will be starring in a production of The Playboy of the Western World, which will run from December until the 28th of February next year. That actually sounded really good. I was reading a little blurb about that. I wish I could go see that.
Come over.
Oh, I would like to go see it. It sounded really good. It's like a dark comedy set in Ireland, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds good. In more theater news, Hannah Dodd will star as Sally Bowles in the West End's production of Cabaret. You can imagine the news set off a whole new cycle of Bean singing the Cabaret soundtrack on repeat, so we're all thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Dodd will be performing the role from the 29th of May until the 20th of September.
I was bloody thrilled by this. Mm-hmm. For a start, do you know like when there's a piece of casting and you're like, I see it.
Yeah, also the promotion for it looks really beautiful. She looks gorgeous.
Sally Bowles, I can just perfectly see it. But then I also am such a big fan of Rob Madge, who's playing the MC.
Yeah.
I see Rob in anything they do. Mm-hmm. So that would have been like dream casting for me anyway. So to have them both together, absolute dream. Can't wait to go see them. Also, if you're in New York on the Rob Madge, you should go see My Sons Are Queer, But What Can You Do?, which is playing in New York sometime soon. Go Google it. Go support them.
In other cast news, Kitty Devlin, who played Miss Stowell in Season 3, will be joining the London cast of The Play That Goes Wrong later this year as an understudy. And I love those folks. They are hilarious. If you've seen the Goes Wrong show, you can find it online. They're so funny. There's like this one where they're doing like a courtroom drama, and like one of the sets is literally as tall as my hands. They have to stick their little faces in. It's the funniest thing in the world. Highly recommend them. Go see that. I'm sure it'll be hilarious. Mm-hmm. And in final theater news, James Foon will be performing at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre's one-night celebration, Shakespeare for Every Day of the Year, taking place on Sunday, the 25th of May. And lastly, it has been announced that Bessie Carter's new show, Outrageous, will be released on BritBox on June 18th, and that's everything, hopefully.
Deep breath, Lecky.
Yeah. Also, the trailer for that looked really good, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for that, Lecky. But now it's time for the most important part of the episode because, dear listeners, we are just thrilled by the guest we have joining us today. You all know how much we love to discuss the behind-the-scenes work that takes place on Bridgerton. And I know that so many of you who listen to our podcast are just as fascinated by all the different aspects that go into creating the show that we love so much. So, Lecky, who do we have joining us today?
We are so pleased to be joined by Mitchell Kohen, a Foley artist on all 3 seasons of Bridgerton, and Queen Charlotte. If you're not familiar with the work of a Foley artist, well, Mitchell will be here very shortly to provide a way better explanation of his job. But basically, a Foley artist is responsible for recreating all the realistic everyday sounds you hear in TV and film, and Foley is a super important part of the post-production process and is something we've all been incredibly interested in and impressed by in Bridgerton, so we genuinely couldn't be happier to have Mitchell on the pod today.
Absolutely. We're so grateful to Mitchell for his time, his generosity. We've been hoping to be able to interview him for such a long time, as you'll hear.
Yeah.
We know that you're going to love all these details that he has to share. So without any further ado, let's jump right on in, Lek. Hello everyone, Obs and Lecky here, and we are utterly delighted to be joined by Mitchell Kohen, a 2-time Emmy-nominated Foley artist whose work you'll be very familiar with.
Yep.
In addition to working on all seasons of our beloved Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte, Mitchell has worked on many other incredible projects, including White Lotus, Cobra Kai, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and recently, The Residents on Netflix. Mitchell, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We and our listeners are such big fans of all the amazing creative teams who help bring the show show to life. On our podcast, we talk a lot about the show and the storyline, but we have a real interest in the different teams that help bring that to life, whether it's costumes or lighting or direction or Foley work. So it's really great to have you on. We've been a real big fan of your work for a long time. So honestly, true honor to have you here.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for that lovely introduction. You reminded me of Queen Charlotte. It's when you do like the Bridgerton verse, as we call it, I work on so many different things and every day is kind of different. I kind of forget sometimes, the spin-off show in itself because I'm usually so concentrated on Bridgerton. But yeah, Queen Charlotte was an absolute blast. So thank you for reminding me. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, a whole world, wasn't it?
We actually have a kind of funny story about when we decided we really wanted to speak with you, because we actually watched part 1 of Bridgerton when it came out last year together, and we were chatting on Discord at the time. And I remember I have the exact time and date where my friend here, she said to me at approximately 4:40 in the morning, our Foley guy is doing the best creaking noises. A sound in these moments is so important.
Cool.
And we all very quickly decided we really hoped we could interview you one day. So I can't tell you how thrilled we are to have you here.
Thank you. It's cool.
The first time going, I was like, and we'll get to that scene in a little bit, but I was like, this is just brilliant. Yeah. So almost a year later, almost at the anniversary, how brilliant to have you around.
Yeah, it's great timing. Very cool.
But before we dive into Bridgerton, we'd love to know more about Foley artistry and your particular journey in the industry. So for our listeners who may be unfamiliar with Foley, can you walk us through the type of work you do and why Foley plays such an important role in the storytelling we see and hear in TV and film?
For sure. So Foley is the reproduction of sound performed in sync with picture. To break that down even further, I work on a very large stage, on a sound stage that has several different floors. So I have cement, I have wood, I have creaky wood, I have dirty dirt, and I have clean dirt, and I have gravel, which is used quite a bit in Bridgerton, and I have about 100 pairs of shoes, and I walk every single character on every single surface while watching on a very large projection screen. And then, so there's kind of 4 facets to Foley. There's footsteps, cloth, hands, and props. So footsteps is we cover every footstep. Every character you see on any episode of Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte ever has been walked by me. I try and maintain that honor, I would honestly say, because there's times I'm sick and I'll go, no, I'll do it. I'm coming in. I want to do it. Because I don't want to miss an episode. I've done every single one of them. And so every footstep on every surface, that includes every dancing scene that you're seeing as well. All the background characters that are dancing, I cover those guys as well.
Amazing.
And then we also cover cloth movement. So cloth movement basically means I sit there from the very first frame to the very last frame, and I rub cloth together to mimic the movements of the character. And I can explain why that's necessary later, but we cover that. In addition, we cover hands. So hands is like anytime someone puts their hands together, hits their sides, caresses someone's face, runs their hand through their hair.
A lot of that in the show.
There's a lot of that on the show.
It's a romance, yeah.
Yeah. And then we cover every prop.
Yeah.
So everything an actor touches, moves, manipulates, drinks, gulps, pours, sips, even the slightest little nuance of a movement I cover. That includes dog footsteps as well. Anytime the queen is holding the dog and pets the dog, we'll zoom in and see is there a collar on the dog? Should I give a little movement sound for the collar?
Oh, wow.
How detailed do I want to get in the dog's movement? But all of that is kind of Foley, generally speaking, right? There's different reasons to cover certain things and not other things. But as a wider view, that's everything that I do. Yeah.
So you've played every single character on the show. That's not a bad thing to have going.
Yeah, it's a very physical show. It is a lot of walking, and it's a lot of walking in different heels. And I'm pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie at this point. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a very strenuous job. Foley is a lot more physical than people believe it to be. It's way more physical than I ever thought it was when I was wanting to be a Foley artist. I thought it was you make cool sounds and that's it for the day. It is backbreaking work.
Yeah, you're truly embodying the characters.
Yeah. And the world.
Yeah. And it's really the physicality of understanding their cadence when they're walking, right? It's emphasizing and enhancing character movement, right? And these are things that people don't realize exists as a job,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Foley, a lot of times people don't understand what it is, and it's utilized to enhance the story, to bring the audience more inside of the scene.
Yeah.
Is the best. I kind of always describe it as like audio post production. So in audio post production, I see it as like a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have dialogue, music, sound effects, and Foley.
Mhm.
Music takes up a very large chunk of that picture. And then you have dialogue, which is the most important. That takes a very large chunk on that canvas. And then you have sound effects. That takes up a nice chunk. You know, your carriage movements in Bridgerton, your doors opening on Bridgerton, right? That obviously takes up a very large chunk. And then you have Foley, and Foley is tiny brushstrokes between all of those.
Yeah. Filling out the world.
Yes. So there's going to be hundreds of tiny brushstrokes of Foley as opposed to the larger, beautiful sunset picture that is dialogue, right? You're going to have these tiny details within the sun, within the background that would, I consider to be, you know, a good analogy to what Foley does.
Yeah, it's like you're adding the final brushstrokes of post-production that complete the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. I have such an appreciation for what you do. I've always been interested in Foley, but I just wanted to dig into your story a bit more. Could you tell us what drew you to Foley artistry and how you got started in the industry?
For sure. I am very blessed that I have known that I've wanted to be a Foley artist since I was 13.
Oh,
It has always been my dream job.
yeah.
And I have worked very hard, late nights, backbreaking studios, Foley stages without air conditioning, whatever was necessary to make this into my career. And so I started in theater and I did sound design for plays for many years. I was an audio technician at a place called South Coast Repertory, which is down in Costa Mesa.
Oh.
I ran sound there for 2 seasons while I went to Cal State Fullerton for film. And then I took every sound job you can imagine. And it was all because, you know, a lot of Foley artists know one side of the stage. Okay, so there's me and my side, and the kind of the analog touching of the props and movements. Then there's the other side, which is the digital side where my Foley mixer sits. And he records me and he manipulates my EQ. He punches me in to make sure that I'm on time. He helps me with the sync. That's the other side. A lot of Foley artists only know one side. They're kind of not so familiar with the other side. If I needed to sit in on the other side, on the mixing side tomorrow and have another artist cover, I could do that side as well, which is a skill set that I think personally makes me become a better artist, in my opinion. So all the skill sets that I've learned from, I ran sound at the Whiskey A Go-Go, which is like a live music venue out here in LA. I ran sound at another venue called the Mint, which is out here. I did audio engineering for the airlines for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, interesting.
Which basically, like, my job was to like curate the playlists in the armrests and like EQ those based on the sound within the airplane and like balance out the music so it sounded as best as it could within the airplane.
To level it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything audio related, which it allowed my ear to grow in a different way. And then I became I don't know like when one becomes a Foley artist. Like, I don't know when that transition is, right? Because you work for a couple years doing anything you can in the Foley world. So that means like Foley cueing and Foley editing, right? And so I contacted a very boutique sound studio out here in LA in Echo Park. And I said, hey, do you need any help with your Foley? Like, I'm down to do free work. I want to do Foley. And he's like, no one's going to turn down free work. He's like, sure, come on down. And I kind of made what's called a live room into the pseudo Foley stage for scraps of pay, for the opportunity just to practice and get better and improve my skill set. And that included doing Foley cueing, performing, and Foley editing, non-union. And it wasn't bad work. It was really fun stuff, really good content. I was really proud and excited to be working on the shows I still am, that I've been blessed to work on. And what really got me, I'd say, kind of took my career to the next level. It's all word of mouth. In the industry, it's all word of mouth. It's all whom you know. And a lot of Foley is families within Foley. There's a lot of mother-daughters, father-sons, aunt-uncles, and they kind of help them get into the Foley world. I don't know anybody. I didn't have that luxury.
You had to create it all yourself.
So I actually attended, it's so wild, I was trying to think about this before I came on today, where I can kind of pinpoint where it kind of bloomed from. And I attended a Foley workshop hosted by John Resch. John Resch is a Foley artist who's the only one to ever receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. He's done Back to the Future, Schindler's List. If it's a major motion picture that's highly acclaimed, he was at Skywalker. So he's done it. He's a great mentor and friend of mine, but he was holding a class, a workshop for about 30 people. And at that time, I already walked several features and TV shows, but you never want to pass up an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll do it. And from that one workshop, a Foley artist who had been in the business saw me, walked, and he goes, "Why are you here?"
Yeah.
And he introduced me to a guy who owned a Foley stage. I covered some shifts. And from that one workshop, I can trace everything back to that.
That's amazing. Yeah, so much of the industry comes down to networking, but also you probably proved that you were willing and open to learning, even though you were already established.
Foley is all about enhancing your skill set and learning, right? So we're so lucky. Some fun Foley facts. Foley was very secretive for a very long time. A lot of Foley artists, I'm kind of like a Foley nut. I really appreciate the art and the history of it. A lot of Foley was secretive, and they didn't want to give away their secrets because if someone knew how to do horse footsteps like I do them, I might not get that gig.
Yeah.
But social media has kind of opened that up now, and people are more willing to show it. And it's kind of like more of like a communal thing now, where it's not so like
closed doors.
I mean, in some regard, it's still dog eat dog because there's not many positions available in the Foley world.
Yeah.
But it's no longer like animosity or like fear, I'd say. You know, it's really kind of awesome right now. Like the way that social media has just allowed us to see, and Foley artists are sharing how they do stuff. And there's a lovely Foley artist page on Facebook, which is moderated by John, that really like we're asked questions and they want to help and they want to give you answers. It's so cool now. It's awesome.
More collaborative.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And everyone benefits from shared knowledge and shared experience.
Yeah. And, you know, luckily I've been able to apprentice, work with some really highly regarded Foley artists, some of the world's best. And when I'm working with them, my brain is just on the whole day because I'm watching how they do something.
Soaking it in.
Yeah. I'm really like, I learned how to do some amazing horse footsteps from just watching an artist named Greg Barbinell, who has since retired. But watching how he did his footsteps, and I know this is going to sound really odd to your audience that like...
No, Mitchell, I have to say...
We talk about horse noises all the time.
The horses actually recur a lot.
They do.
In the story of season 3, so we keep pointing them out.
Yeah.
So this is incredibly important.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's just learning how to do these little tiny character traits that you learn from other artists that just help make me better. And it's really kind of a skill set you got to continue to grow. Like you were saying, you got to keep at it and be willing to understand that you're not the best and there's other people who have skills that can teach you. And I'm totally down to learn from people. Even if I bring someone on the stage who's green, who's new, sometimes they do something by accident. I'm like, oh, damn, that was cool. It just happens naturally sometimes. Yeah.
Bring innovation to the art.
You touched on this a little earlier too, but I just wanted to point it out for our listeners that what you do, there are union Foley artists. You're part of IATSE, the Editors Guild, but I just wanted to mention that what you do, they're union workers. They're part of the trade artists who help bring TV and movies to life.
I'm very, very proud to be a union member. I worked very hard to become a union member. And once you're in it, there's just great classes and they kind of have your back and there's rules and regulations that have to be followed. And it protects you. I'm a big union proponent. I really think across the board, unions are wonderful. And being part of the local 700 has been great. And yeah, I'm very thankful to have everything that comes along. Being a union Foley artist also means that I'm allowed to work non-union, which is also very cool. So I can take on any content that comes across my plate, which is great.
Oh, yeah?
Diving a little bit into your approach to material then. When we're thinking about sound, our world is just full of accidental sounds, intentional sounds. It's just such a rich soundscape that we exist in. How do you decide with material which sounds you're going to recreate or highlight through Foley? Is it a process where you're able to read the scripts initially to have an idea of what's coming up? Or do you only work with the dailies or the final footage during the post-production process? What's that initial approach like?
You know, sound is normally towards the last kink in the chain in terms of post-production, right? Because we can't, let's imagine I did a few episodes of Supergirl back in the day, and there was what was supposed to be a big monster, but it was like a dude in a green suit, right? So like you can't finish the sound effects until the visual effects are done. So the VFX are done. So sound is really kind of last in line. So So I get it, cut what might be the last version, what might not be the last version, but enough where I'm able to start my work on it.
Mhm.
So I don't see any scripts ahead of time. Sometimes I get what's called a continuity script, which just kind of breaks down each scene. I don't need it so much on Bridgerton anymore because I know the character names and I do my own research to know who people are. But sometimes if it's a brand new show, continuity sheets help me, like who's who, what house are they in?
Yeah.
You know, it really just breaks it down scene by scene.
Mhm.
So I get the episode and then we go through and we queue it. And queuing takes 1 day, takes 8 hours. And that's where I put markers where every single Foley sound effect happens.
Yeah.
Now, for Bridgerton, we do what's called M&E coverage. M&E coverage is full music and effects. So sometimes shows are just released domestically and sometimes shows are released internationally, right? Obviously, Bridgerton is a large show. It's released internationally.
Mhm.
So we cover everything. Foley covers everything on Bridgerton.
Mhm.
So to answer your question more thoroughly, we have certain props called A, B, and C props.
Mhm.
So if it's an A prop, I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to take my time with it because an A prop drives the story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like particular ones that took a lot of time on Bridgerton. There was, and I know you two are going to know right away if I mention even the slightest thing, but there was an episode where Philippa was bowling outside.
Oh, Prudence. Prudence was bowling.
Prudence.
204.
And like the camera was behind the pins
Yeah.
and the ball
Mhm.
kind of came towards it.
I won.
That's an A prop. That's an example of an A prop, right? I know the sound is going to be heard. I know the audience is going to hear the sound. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to say that one shot probably took me somewhere between 35 to 45 minutes
Oh, wow.
Mm.
just for 3 to 4 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because this pin hits this pin, it falls on the gravel, the ball moves this way.
Yeah.
And we make sure to cover every single one of those. So if it's a C prop would just be like a character in the background putting down a plate.
Mhm.
I don't have to think about it, go into great, huge detail about that because it's not driving the story. The audience isn't going to recognize if it's there or if it's not there sometimes.
Yeah.
But if it's an A prop, boy, howdy, do we give it detail.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out of my favourite A prop of all time. Lecky, you'll already know. The necklace that Colin breaks in season 2. It's the gemstone necklace in the
Mhm.
season finale. You can hear the sound of it in his hand as he's walking.
Colin.
And then the smash as well. That's my favourite prop and my favourite little moment.
Cool. I'm so appreciative of you two right now. This is so cool. I really thank you guys for like caring about this stuff.
And our listeners really care. Like the people who listen to our podcast are so immersed in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Before we move on, there's also a tiny moment in season 2 where Queen Charlotte flicks the top off a cake.
Yep.
And I love the satisfying little tink.
There was an episode where Lady Danbury's sitting with the queen and there's a bunch of suitors on like little...
Oh, the little miniatures of the eligible gentleman with doubling.
Yeah. And they're just like moving things around and like...
Throwing them. Yeah.
Mhm.
That scene took... Oh my gosh, the throwing. Yes. And then there was like another A prop where they're playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That chess scene was upwards about 2 hours for me.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't like the sound. I used 4 different props for each movement. I remember in particular this scene because the chess piece going down was one prop. The chess piece sliding was a different prop. The chess piece grab was a different prop. So every single time those actions happen, I have to cut in and be punched in for every single time that happened,
Mhm.
you know? But that's just an example of the level of detail we give. Like, we're so grateful and thankful to post-production team, audio-wise, to be part of the Bridgerton world. So we take a lot of care, a lot of effort. It's really collaborative. Bridgerton is something special. It's very cool.
We've spoken to a couple of different people. We've spoken to Erica Ockvist, the makeup and hair designer, and she has spoken about how collaborative it is with departments really pulling together to bring it to life, really. And you've said that you work with the other side of the chair, which you've also had experience in. So you have an empathy and an idea for what goes into it beyond your role as well. So can you tell us a little bit about your studio as a whole? I know you mentioned the different floors and the different space, but what an average day looks like for you and what that collaboration looks like.
Sure. So it's about 800 square feet, 900 square feet. If the general public would walk into it, you would think it's a hoarder's house.
Yeah.
Okay. It is every garage sale you've seen thrown up and then like just everywhere.
Like one of those smash rooms as well, where you can go in and destroy it.
Yeah. I have an entire bin of just broken glass that we throw glass into. It's ceramics, it's glass, it's tin, it's everything that makes that kind of crunchy noise. But you walk into my Foley stage and there's a kitchen to your left. And so I have like a refrigerator. I'm going to try and walk you through it like virtually here. So maybe kind of be cool for your listeners. If you walk in to the Foley stage, there's a cabinet. And in that cabinet, I have all my swords, guns, my food. I keep it nice and kind of in there. I also have my keyboards, and I have keyboards from every different era because about every 10 years, keyboards sound different.
Yeah. So
I have keyboards from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then I have different laptops because those keyboards sound different as well. And then moving forward to the kitchen, I have a metal and a ceramic sink with running water because when you're putting dishes in a sink, what that sink is made of is going to change the sound of what goes into it. And then I have every plate, bowl, cup, plastic cup, every silverware you could think of. I have my medicine cabinet, so anything you'd find in a bathroom. Pills, I have different sizes of pills because they each make different sounds from within the pill bottle. Then from there, behind that, I have a water pit, which is about 4.5 feet deep that I fill with water that I get inside of. And I cover all the splashes and the movements and the dunkings of water. Large pouring of water will cover that as well. And then moving forward, I have all my chairs. So we cover everyone's butt sitting down in whatever chair they're on. Bridgerton is used mostly. I have that section for the sex sounds in the bed because each bed has a different creak, right? Depending on the size of the bed and what's happening inside the bed. And then behind that, I have a couple of car doors. I have my bicycles. And then on the far side, I have all my gardening equipment and my large tools over there. And then walking around to the other side, I have all the paper you can think of. I have a separate section for Bridgerton where I have all my Whistledown stuff. I keep that separate. I have books and binders with zippers and notebooks with zippers and notebooks that have that zuzzy sound when you run your fingernails over them. Then I have my electronics, and that can range from an old CD player to a laptop to headphones to I work on Grey's Anatomy, so I have a lot of medical gear in there as well.
Yeah.
And then I have what's called a squeak box, which is like everything that makes squeaky dog sounds and fun sounds like that. So that's just on the stage. And then I actually have a separate prop room. So then that prop room was filled with even more things. And it's a smaller room, but in there I have my game boards, like Scrabble and Jenga. Those make sounds. And then I have my helmets. Bicycle helmet sounds different from a motorcycle helmet. So that's in there as well. I have acoustic guitar and electric guitar. I have all the bags. I have an array of women's purses with chains, no chains, vinyl-y, leathery. I have that as well. Toolboxes, metal toolbox, plastic toolboxes. And then I have my clothes section. So like in Bridgerton, I give a specific sound, or we call them claw-specific movements, for any time a character bows.
Oh, okay.
So anytime a character just even bends down slightly, we cover that and make that a little bit brighter. So I have like a specific dressy sound for the women when they bow, and like a clothier sound for the men when they bow. So we cover that as well. Yeah, and that's like a pretty in-depth tour. And then the Foley mixer sits on the other side with two large panes of glass that divide us. And strategically, there's a very large TV that blocks his view from me. And there's a reason for that, because my job is to trick the ear, not trick the eyes.
Right, yeah.
So if he sees me performing a prop with whatever that is, his brain's going to affiliate that sound with that prop and not what's on screen.
Yeah.
So if he sees me manipulating something, it might take him out of the scene we're watching together. It's so wild. I work with, his name is Michael Head. He's the Foley mixer. We did the last season of Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte together. We worked 40 hours a week together, 8 hours a day, and you don't see each other.
Yeah.
We have lunch together on occasion. And then other than that, we just hear each other's voices all day long. So it's a little odd for people. And it's very collaborative. Him and I in particular on Bridgerton, we did a lot of work together. Was on Queen Charlotte, when the king was kind of going through his episodes and chalking and writing chalk all over the walls. That's a lot of movement to cover in particular.
Yeah.
So he would go back and forth, goes, no, I need a larger circle. Needs to be a bigger swoosh. Needs to be a longer stroke.
Bigger loop.
Need to get it like that.
Yeah, we work together all day long, coming up with sounds together. Yeah, and kind of to walk you through, I believe the second half of the question, I kind of threw the day. I normally start with a cloth pass. Again, kind of allows me to see the episode again, refresh my memory. Then I normally like to jump to footsteps. Usually start with females and then males. On occasion, if my feet have been sore, if the previous day was a lot, I'll jump male, female, male, female. And then lately, what I've been doing is saving the dancing for the second day.
You're worn out by that.
Exactly. Whenever you see the group dancing in the balls,
Yeah.
they're very particular about those because it really helps bring the audience into those larger scenes. So what I actually have to do, and again, let me know if the terminology here, when I say the word layers, layers just means that like basically I'm doing one layer and then I'm doing another one on top of it, another one on top of it.
Yeah.
I have to do 3 layers of men's shoes and different shoes and 3 layers in women's shoes. So each 1 minute scene is taking me 6 minutes.
Oh my God.
They don't have to be perfectly in sync every time. You kind of don't want that when I perform dance movements. You want a little bit of off sync, right? It just helps create the sound to be more full. It's different. Like, man, there was one episode where like they're all jumping in the background and they're all like landing in unison. That obviously has to be pretty tight. But I save that for the second day. Then I usually move on to A props, which we call props 1 and 2. I'll start with those. And then to break that up, I'll move to hands because hands allows me to sit in a chair, which after doing feet is...
You'll need a break.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll do the hands, and the kissing is involved in that as well at that time. And then I usually finish all my shows with doing the wet stuff. Anything that's going to get me like dirty and gross and messy and the stage messy, I save those to like the very last thing that I do.
To help with cleanup.
Yes.
Gosh. And that's, like you say, such a physical day.
Yes. In particular, it's the sits that are the most physical. When I say sits, that means, like I said, that means sitting on any chairs, because I put my full body into the weight of them sitting in a chair. But it's also, in particular, is like when a character falls or lands on a wood surface or gets dragged on a tile or cement surface, I'm throwing my body down and then moving it around. So there's a lot of physicality that goes into it.
I wanted to know, how long does it generally take to create the Foley, for example, for like an episode of Bridgerton?
I normally get 2 days at least. And then if it's a bigger episode, like in last season, there was the hot air balloon episode.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I usually can get another day to a day and a half if it's needed. Usually every season and so far has like that big episode that just takes a little bit more time. Like
the huge set piece.
Yeah, there was like, I think the horse racing episode in the second season and then like the boxing in the first season.
Yeah.
Those episodes tended, like there's usually one a season that's like pretty big.
Yeah.
It takes just a little bit more time.
As you mentioned earlier, you've worked on all seasons of Bridgerton. And although each season kind of brings us back to a familiar world, there's always a new love story being told with specific characters being pulled into focus. And you shared previously that you gave Penelope, the season 3 lead, her own distinct shoe sound. And I was wondering if you could tell us about why you made that decision to help tell her story.
Yeah, so like, these are the tiny things that generally speaking audiences don't recognize. They don't hear the minute details in Foley, especially if they're listening. I stress to everybody, you shouldn't listen to, this might alienate many people, you shouldn't listen to sound from the TV. You should listen to it either from a sound bar or connect a pair of headphones or really listen to it, because a TV, you lose a lot of the mids and the low ends, right? You're getting a lot of the higher frequencies. When I do footsteps with certain characters, like the diamond every season, right? I want her shoe to be used by her and her alone.
Oh, that's amazing.
She's the lead. She's the diamond. I don't want anyone to have her same shoe.
Yeah.
Now, what I also do in Bridgerton, this is just me doing my thing. Again, I don't know if anyone's going to recognize this, but what I try to do is as the class is higher, I'm talking about the queen being the highest, obviously, and then going down from there. And then you have, I remember in like first or second season, they were like outside on the streets, right? And you saw a lot of like not so well off people living their lives, right?
The scene with Marina and Portia.
Yep.
So what I do is, as the class ranking gets higher, I make their shoes sound tappier because they're wealthier and their shoes are going to be nicer. And then as the class order goes down, I make the shoe duller because they're going to be wearing that shoe for a longer time. It's going to be more worn out.
Scuffed, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like people walking on the streets in a background are going to have a lot less tappy shoe than the diamond does. A fun thing that I do is I try, and I think I've succeeded in it, I give the diamond each season the same shoe. So like the same shoe that I wore for Daphne is the same shoe that I wore for Kate, is that I wore for Penelope. Like that is the diamond shoe.
Oh, that is so cool.
That's cute. I love that.
Yeah.
I think you shared this on social media, and when I read it, I was so touched because I feel like it's making the sound a character in its own right by giving them their own shoe, and I just love that detail, so I just really wanted to ask you about it.
That's just another example of the level of detail we go into, honestly. It's worth it.
Yeah, that's so cool because looking ahead to season 4, it's going to be a story of the two classes really colliding. And so all that work that you've put previously into filling out those two different class divides and making them feel rich and alive and real, they're going to come even more into the focus.
Very cool. I'm excited. That'd be very cool.
I suppose it'd be interesting with Sophie's shoe then, because you don't have to tell us if you don't want. By the way, we know everything's under lock and key, but would she be able to have the diamond shoe because she's from the lower classes? She's sort of stepping in from a different aspect.
I do not know. I'll have to assess. Yeah, we'll have to listen.
We'll have to listen. And we will be listening. To go back to Penelope, you've spoken before about one of the main stars of the show, Lady Whistledown's quill, and you've shared that you use a very specific tool to create that. Could you tell us what that is and how you found that perfect sound? I'm so fascinated by the way that you must exist, just like listening to sound and being immersed in it, but then also hearing a tap on a mug and translating that into something completely different. So when you're looking for something important like Lady Whistledown's quill, what was the process for finding that sound?
To me, one of my greatest pleasures in Foley is like when a prop is a character.
Yep.
Okay. Like I worked on a show called like The Thing About Pam, and she always had like a very large 7-Eleven cup filled with ice and water everywhere she went.
Yeah.
And like to me, like that's so fun. Like I get to play ice movement the entire show. Like how cool is that? And to me, like Lady Whistledown is the show.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the scenes when the newspaper boys are running around, they're always handing it to them. There's the exchange of coins from like hand to hand, right? With the writing of Whistledown, we took a lot of trial and error to make the proper quill sound. Again, for your audience to listen, like just because you see it on screen doesn't mean I'm using that exact prop. That doesn't make the right sound sometimes. So like I'm listening to so many things at one time when I'm doing a performance. If I'm doing a quill right, I don't want it to sound painfully scratchy, like a quill sometimes does, because that's not going to sit well in a sound mix. That's not going to help. I don't want it to sound too dull, because then it's not exciting enough for a writing scene, especially a close-up one. So we did a lot of trial and error on the quill. And I remember I started with just kind of like a pencil, like half shave, so it wasn't sharp. And then I used the other side of the pencil, not the eraser side, but like the non-shave side, just to give me a little bit better of an angle. Didn't work. I used a very large knife. I took like a butcher's knife, because a knife on paper is not a bad sound, but it didn't exaggerate it enough for me.
Yeah.
Moments like that, I do this thing on the Foley stage where I have like a tick, right? Where like I sit there and I go like this with my fingers, I kind of tap them together. I hear it in my head. How do I get that out of my body? What prop do I need to make that sound? So what happens is like I kind of walk around, I kind of observe, I just take like a pan over of everything. I go, what could make this sound? And I have a stockpile of, they're for painters to mix their cans of paint with.
Oh, okay.
They're like very thin pieces of wood. And I have those for like when someone breaks through a wall or a pencil breaks in half, I'll use those to make it bigger. And I saw one that was like half broken. And I was like, I'm just going to try this. Maybe this will work. And we were like, that's it. That's it.
Oh, that's so cool.
That was perfect because it had a good scrapey sound. It was controllable, which is also very important. I have to be able to have full control over the prop because I can't let it get away from me, because then I got to redo it and redo it and redo it. It had the right level of scratchiness, the right controllability, the right smoothness. I was able to copy the movements of Penelope very well, really nice and in sync. It's light enough where I can still hold it in my hand, right? So I wrote on it, Bridgerton VIP.
Oh, don't lose it.
I don't want to lose a splinter of this thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the sound.
It's like a casting director spotting the person who's, it's like, that's them.
That's her.
Yeah.
And with her writing as well, her writing is very emotion driven. And so you almost want a sound that can feel that emotion through it as well. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, are there any other unusual tools or methods that you use when creating sounds for Bridgerton? Or just something that would really surprise viewers to hear that you'd never expect? Or like a process? I think you mentioned kissing. Is that something that Foley would cover?
Just to touch on it briefly, there's difference between domestic and international mix. Okay, so for a domestic mix, just remember, it's very important that people realize the only thing that's recorded on set is dialogue. That is the most important thing to get. You know, I always tell people that, like, let's say you have George Clooney on set for one day, you got to make sure you record it because the next day he's flying off somewhere and you may not be able to get him in for ADR for a few more weeks, right? So you want to make sure that those lines, so everything you hear is sound effects or Foley, everything you hear. If it's recorded well enough on set, the domestic mix is going to use that. Okay. Now, let's say that they're on set and someone's cell phone goes off or something, right? They're not going to be able to use that.
Yeah.
Then they would go to Foley to cover those kissing sounds. Now, most importantly, it's for the international mix, right? So when you do international, when the English language is taken out of it, think about how much is gone from that sound that you're watching.
Yeah.
That's why we cover hands. If I'm talking to you both and I put my hands down, but then you take out the language, you're not going to hear it.
Yeah, that's gone.
Now, as an audience, you're going to quickly go, there's something missing. I see it. I see it. My brain, a lot of Foley is like sometimes cliche, right? Like we have to cover like when a cell phone breaks for some reason, you got to have a glass breaking sound effect. It just like helps sell to the audience. Or someone takes a sip from a straw and it's that empty cup sound.
Yeah.
It's just an audio cliche that an audience expects to hear. So if you see a hand going down without a sound there, it's going to draw you out of the story. So we cover the kissing as well, A, to enhance it, B, for international, C, if there's something on set that didn't work out well. I can't say that every kiss you hear in Bridgerton is me. And I apologize if now that you think it is, I don't know.
Completely okay.
But like we take into consideration, like, you know, what level of kissing is it? Is it really passionate? Am I making like an extra tongue mouthy noise that goes along with it? Am I helping to sell it that way? Or is it a light peck? A lot of times on shows, we'll do like someone kisses both sides of someone's cheek, right? Like a really friendly kiss. Friendly kisses and passionate kisses sound different, you know?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do in Bridgerton is like anytime a jewelry box is open, I give it like this really subtle creak that I use a toy train.
Okay.
That's no, I thought you were going to say, which is just brilliant.
Like the wheels just make the most perfect squeak sound.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, Colin, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So like there was an episode where, again, you know it as soon as I say it, so I'll just start blurting it out and you'll get it. Colin's sitting across from Benedict and he's like pouring powder into a drink.
The tea 203,
scene, one of our favorites. Yep.
I told you we're bad.
So cool. And so like we thought about like what can I use for the sound of it coming out, right? Because you can't use the tea. It didn't read well enough. So like we ended up using like dirt because dirt just read better coming out of the pouch, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like a little pouch.
When I mean read, I mean like it made a better sound. Like it told the story, enhanced the story better than had I used tea leaves or whatever it was, you know?
Like you say, you're tricking the audience into creating the world instead of what they'd expect.
Yes.
And kind of funnily, the sound you're using, even though it's not the exact object, it sounds more believable and realistic.
Yeah, and usually Foley's exaggerated. We usually say we always have to go about 110, 120% of what it really is, because once you bring Foley down in a mix, it needs to be a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
Right? An example that I have, I think it was on Queen Charlotte. The queen was lighting a match and moving it to like the lantern, or the lantern itself was moving. We cover the flame movement on the candle.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so what I do for that is I'll take like 10 matches. I'll light 10 matches and then wave that in front of the microphone.
Yeah. To exaggerate it.
Yes. So like I couldn't use a single candle. It's not going to make this, maybe a big ass candle, but like it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So being over the top is you have to sometimes think about what can you do once the sound becomes lowered in a mix that it still reads how I want it to read.
Yeah. We touched on this a little earlier, but we were so impressed, especially by the Foley work in episode 4 of season 3 with two characters, Francesca Bridgerton and John Sterling. They're two characters who bond through moments of silence, and so the inclusion or even the absence of sound feels especially important for their story. Notably, there's a scene in episode 4 where they're both sitting on the sofa together, and it's so quiet that you can hear things like clothing rustling and the sofa squeaking under them. So we wanted to know if you could possibly explain how Foley is used in scenes like this to help tell the story, like how silence or how sound is used to kind of capture the absence of sound.
Yeah. So I went back before hopping on today and I listened to it again, and I listened to it very loudly. I made sure that my wife was aware of what's happening at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Sorry.
And so something to always think about is that there is very rarely in TV no sound. there's always sound, right? So if you listen back to that scene, you're going to hear like a clock ticking in the background.
Yep.
You're going to hear birds outside the door, right? We call those backgrounds. And backgrounds change from one room to another room to an exterior shot. And that's the sound effects editor's job, is to put that in. In those scenes, in particular, Foley then is when I'm watching it, I'm looking for slight nuances that can elevate the silence, which is a weird thing to say, right? But with their story, like you were saying, like, so again, a weird sentence, the silence was a character between the two of them.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I listen to it and you hear a little creak when Francesca leans forward, right? And I even noticed there was a little, when it jumps back to Eloise, there's a little creak for her when she leaned forward that I covered as well.
Yeah.
I look for moments where Foley can enhance the story.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of what's probably a double layered sit, right? You probably don't hear a cushion movement, but you hear the creak of the wood. So we'll look for moments where can Foley play a character in this moment. And Francesca's whole storyline, I think there's a scene too where they're like, I apologize, I work on so much that it's sometimes hard to remember.
That's okay. I think I know where you're going with this, so it's fine.
They're outside and just staring at nothing.
At the Innovations Ball, where they first meet.
Yeah.
So this is when they first meet and you can hear the gravel underneath them.
Exactly. Yeah. So like when you're cueing an episode, like you kind of want to, if you're a good enough Foley cuer, you go, what can I put in here to help tell the story? And so like, I remember doing like little subtle gravel movements.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sometimes like when you're playing, let's say it's a close-up medium shot, you're not going to see their feet. But let's just say like John turns his head abruptly. I can still give you a little gravel movement.
Yeah.
His feet may not have moved in real life, but giving that moment is going to give more power to the head turn.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
And so I think I remember in that particular scene, I gave a little bit more gravel than I normally would for slight little movements to help play the silence.
Perhaps we can enjoy the silence together.
And it works so beautifully because that story, as deep fans, we sort of expected it was going to come up in season 3. And so we were waiting and waiting and waiting.
Oh, cool.
And then when they had that moment and it was this beautiful silence between them that created this gorgeous bond.
Yeah.
We just fell so deeply in love. So the way that you created sound in those moments, it really made us more immersed in that because it's a very unique love story that they have. And it's a very unique bond that they find in the world together. So we really appreciated how sound helped create that bubble, that world for them.
Yeah.
Going back to the scene in episode 4, we also especially love the almost disturbingly loud crunch of Lord Samadani biting into a pastry as John leaves that scene. And it's used in the story to show that the loud Lord Samadani is not a good match for quiet, reserved Francesca. So sound there is 100% telling the story. So we wondered, could you speak about how it might work to amplify comedy in moments like that? And very importantly, your favorite crunchy treats that you use when making a crunchy sound.
Yeah.
I love Foley for comedy. If I could choose to do it, because like I was told by a mixer one time, if you want to play the joke, play the Foley, right? I did the last season of New Girl and like I had so much fun because you get to go over the top of it and it's actually pretty dang cool. My wife purchased some props from New Girl that went on sale through like a prop auction.
Oh.
Jess had like a red chair in her room.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird for me to like Foley a prop on screen and then now we have that prop. And then I brought that prop to the stage and used it for other shows. So it was just kind of went full circle. But like Foley for comedy is great. I did a show as well called You're the Worst, which had a moment similar, right? Where the main character, I think it was Aya Cash, she bit into a sandwich and the lettuce snapped and the whole room went silent. This is a similar situation, right? You got to make sure that it plays, it tells something. So my go-to crunchy food is a SunChip.
Oh, yeah. I love SunChips.
I think SunChips, as opposed to like Fritos, I have more control over because they're usually more uniform. And if I'm crunching something in my mouth, is my mouth open? Is my mouth closed? Am I putting my hands in front of my mouth to kind of change the sound like a harmonica player would, I have like a whole box full of food. An older Foley technique for like a broken bone is you take a piece of hard ravioli and you put it in your mouth and you kind of cover it like this and you crunch and it makes like a really good bone break sound.
Ah, interesting.
I will never look at ravioli the same way.
Yeah. So it's all, in that particular scene, the camera's pretty close on him too, if I remember. Yeah, so you have to you can't use iceberg lettuce as an example. It just doesn't read as well. It doesn't tell the same story as something very, very crunchy does. So anytime there's moments of comedy, I get super stoked because it's just
like a playground.
Yeah, it really is. I get a lot more opportunity to be bigger. I work on a lot of dramas. You can't, when you work on a dramatic series, it is what it is. They don't want the comedy. It's not that kind of show. It's not that kind of content, right?
Yeah, and sometimes the power there is in the subtlety, whereas in comedy, it's in those exaggerated, bright moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any sound effects that you're particularly proud of from your body of work or that you hope that fans would notice, whether it's from Bridgerton or White Lotus, Cobra Kai, any of the other projects you've worked on?
I particularly was really proud of the season 2 finale of White Lotus when they're in the ocean, because that was in the water pit, and I was in the water pit for about 4 hours covering every splash, and that was just a lot of physical work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing was that the camera went from above water to underwater. And so every time they did that, we changed the EQ to get rid of the mids and the highs, so it sounded really muffled. And so we took such good care on that to really make the difference there. That sound was very cool. I worked on an Apple TV show called Sunny, where we got a lot of notes to what this robot was made out of. And I created this really cool prop in the corner of my room that had a do not touch caution tape around it. This is my robot. I've built him. I don't want anyone to mess with him. I was really stoked on that. Oh, the hot air balloon scene in season 3 was a lot of work.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I bet.
We kind of showcase that sometimes when people come for tours, because it really is just the pinnacle of Foley in that scene. There's a moment where it's about to hit Penelope and it stops and sways. And I gave a really cool rope tension sound. And then there's a sandbag that kind of just bounces.
Yeah.
And you're not going to even hear it so much, but there's a moment too, just in the shot previously, where the cart, what would you call it? The
basket?
Basket,
basket,
yeah. Slides downstairs.
Yeah.
So I took a very large ceramic bowl. And even though it's a wicker basket, whether or not it made the final cut, I'm not sure, but it really helped amplify the sound of it coming down. And it's all the grabs on the rope. It's all the pulling. It's all the guys running from grass onto wood.
The fans paid very close attention to that scene.
Okay, cool.
That will have been deeply appreciated, I tell you.
Speaking of fans, every time they fan themselves,
of course, yeah,
I use 3 different fans for every single time they do it. So the fans, I have a whole section of Bridgerton fans that is in my special drawer that fling out, have different sounds when they open, when they hit. Is it more woody? Do I want more of a kind of sound? Do I want the air on the microphone? Do I want to record that sound too? And we've got notes on fans. They do play the fans. They're very particular about what they sound like. Yeah, Cobra Kai had a lot of karate fighting, a lot of movements for every time every punch they threw was another swoosh of a cloth. A lot of body falls, a lot of falling on the ground in that show. I'm trying to think more particular. I want to stick with more Bridgerton examples I can think of. There's another episode too where Penelope's hiding things in the floor.
Yes.
There's floorboards, and that was a scene that we were particularly proud of because she also takes the carpet and flings the carpet over
to cover it over.
Yeah, and so I remember having a really good time in that scene because I loved how the wood planks came out. I don't think I probably used my 2x4s or my 1x2s or my 2x2s, whatever it was. I have a whole section of lumber that's in the corner. But that came out very good. I really love this is going to be a really subtle throwback, but Queen Charlotte, when she's climbing the wall to get out on that first episode.
Yeah.
We really thought about that wall, man. We really took that wall apart, and she steps on a rock to get up to it, I think. Or she steps on maybe it was a tree stump. I think it's a tree stump. There was a gardener near my building, and I was like, hey, are you going to throw this away? And I brought in a tree stump.
You just looked it in.
Yeah, to get a proper foot sound on a tree stump.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And I remember I ended up being nominated for an Emmy for Cobra Kai, which was the same time Queen Charlotte we were working on or something. And I actually ran into the director at the event. I don't really like to talk to people sometimes that I've Foleyed before. It's kind of a weird Hollywood rule that we don't really, you don't
Yeah.
talk to the actors. But I was like, I'm here and he's here.
Yeah.
And I told him how I brought a tree stump in for this one footstep. And he was so appreciative and he was super, super interested in it, and ran into Shonda at that event too. And we told her how much we liked working on her content, which is really lovely. She's so sweet. Yeah. Bridgerton as a whole is one of my greatest endeavors I've been on. We care. I don't want to say too much because we have a time constraint, so we can only care so much.
Yeah.
But there really is so much thought that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
The sound effects editor, Angelo, we work hand in hand where he calls me, hey, I need a little help on this sound. Can you help me with this particular horse? Or and then I go, hey, can you help me with this particular water drop? And we really work together like collaboratively because we know the fan base really loves the show.
Yeah.
They're so cool. Like I'll go on the subreddit and I look up things and it's really neat to see like the care that people have for it. And I wasn't aware of obviously Bridgerton before my, day one, season one, episode one, and it's grown exponentially since then. But we really care. My favorite thing to do is after I finish, it's really wild. After I finish an episode, I go into the mix room and we can watch it completely silent with no dialogue. Every single sound is there. So we average about 900 to 1,000 sounds per episode.
Oh, wow.
So we sit back and we listen to it. You hear everything. And we go back and we do what's called a QC pass, where we just make sure, like, did we like everything?
Yeah.
Was everything exactly? Because sometimes we have to move a little faster. We have, it's a little bigger episode, less time. So we make sure on Bridgerton that we sit back, we listen. And a lot of times we go back, no, I didn't like that. I want to go back and redo that sound because we care so much. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real joy to work on.
I think the fans feel it as well because, we're here with a podcast about it, but it's such an escapist world and it's something that people really need.
Yeah.
And it is so immersive. And I think fans really appreciate all the different teams pulling together and caring so much and putting that detail because you're stepping and breathing into the world and it feels so vividly alive.
Yeah.
And like you say, a viewer might not really realize the soundscaping that's been created, but they will feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where the magic lies, I think, for us as viewers.
Yeah, I think hopefully now they'll have, the listeners will have a deeper appreciation just for like the thought process that goes into every single sound. And I would recommend, truthfully, to anybody listening, really, if you have an Apple TV and a pair of AirPods, sync them up and listen to it. You'll hear so much more than you heard before coming out of your TV speakers or even your sound bar.
Yeah.
You'll hear the smallest sounds that play through headphones. I like to listen to my own content. I like to listen to it after the fact. It helps me know what plays, what doesn't play, what sounds different in the mix. In Bridgerton 2, one note is that like music is such a character, especially because they do the classical covers of the modern songs. So sometimes I have those already. And what I do is I make sure that my footsteps are not in the same key as the song.
Oh, wow.
That's so clever.
Because I don't want them to conflict with one another or sound wrong or blend and sound mushy. So like we'll go through and EQ my shoes if we know that song is that's the song. We'll go through and even EQ my shoes so that doesn't interfere with that.
Yeah.
It's like doing a dance with the scene.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to complement it without eclipsing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like half the dance has already been done and then you're stepping in later in the production and completing the duet.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to say the coolest job in the world that I have, but it's definitely up there, I think.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
It's an honor. It truly is.
You were touching on Cobra Kai, which, as you said, is known for its fight sequences. And last night I rewatched the December 19 episode that you're nominated for, which is so fun, so good. But I was wondering if you could maybe speak about how Foley is used to create realistic yet exaggerated fight sounds and perhaps share some of your favorite props, even produce that you like to use for those fight sequences.
Yeah, so like traditionally punches are like a combination of a wet chamois, which is normally like, I like to use like a sheepskin chamois on top of a large leather cushion. Sometimes with a head of lettuce to give it some sort of crunchiness to it and a boxing glove. And that works. I don't mind that sound. Personally, I kind of like, I don't want to say thin it out, but thin out the process, I suppose, where like what I like to do is depending on the weight of the punch, whom's punching, how close it is, the far away distances, etc., is like I'll just take a leather jacket, fold it up into like 4 layers, get on my knees, take a boxing glove and wail it. And then depending on the floor that I'm wailing upon, changes the low end of the punch, right? So if I'm punching it on a tile, that low end isn't going to resonate as much as it would if I punch it on a wood surface. So I'll punch it on a wood surface to give me like a lower frequency. And then if I needed to get a deeper sound, I can manipulate my microphone and actually put one of the legs of the microphone stand on the wood surface. That way, the low end travels up the microphone stand into the microphone.
Interesting.
And gives me even more low end hit. I have what's called a shotgun microphone on my Foley stage, which is a very hypersensitive microphone where it's angled and picks up in a very particular pickup pattern, very small. It expands as it goes out. There's Omni microphones, there's room microphones, which we use as well. But I use a shotgun microphone. This way I can manipulate that microphone and place it in such a way to capture the sound how I want it to be captured.
Recently, you also did work on The Residence, another Netflix show which is set in the White House. I'm watching this right now, actually, and I was wondering if you had any fun tidbits to share about the creative choices you made for that series, which is kind of a very fun murder mystery set in a very iconic location, the White House. So I was wondering if maybe the setting impacted any of the decisions you made for that series, whether it was taking into account the acoustics of its hallways, the carpeted floors, or something even more unique.
Yeah, so we can touch on a few things. So in terms of let's say acoustics of a room, or we call reverb, right? The reverberation within the sound of a room. Depending on how long the mixers have to mix the show, we'll either supply them with what's called a room verb or we won't. So if we don't, that means they have a little bit more time on the mix stage and they can choose what that room sounds like exactly. They can choose their own verb. Now, on a shorter turnaround, my mixer and I will discuss how much verb should be in a room, what's within that room. Because Foley without verb sounds obtuse, I would say. Like it's really harsh and really in your face. So you need verb to round out that sound because everything has verb. Every single sound has a verb because every room sounds like a room. So depending on the show, we'll add verb, which is what we use the room mic for. The room mic's in the corner of my room and it actually gets reflections and then we can manipulate the strength of that. But for The Residence, there's a lot of footsteps in that show.
Yep.
There is a lot of carpet to wood to tile, a lot of long shots of them walking down a hallway. But one tip that I can give you is when they are in the nursery, they're like in I don't call it a nursery. There's not a lot of plants in it, but there's a lot of pots.
Greenhouse.
They're in the greenhouse, exactly. There's a lot of terracotta pots everywhere. So every time they did a footstep, I did a terracotta little vibrate shake for the pots shaking all throughout that. So it just kind of played up the room a little bit more.
Oh, that's so clever. So you feel the space.
Yeah, so what we do is I covered all the footsteps on what we did is gritty tile. It's not clean tile in that room because there's dirt everywhere, but I don't want it to sound like concrete, so it's gritty grit. So we do with a tiny bit of grit.
Yeah.
And then, so that's one layer. And then we go back and we do what's called a pass. And then I had a bunch of terracotta pots all over my table. And I probably have 6 or 7, maybe up to 10. And I would shake the table, move them a little bit every single time a footstep happened.
I love that.
And I suppose part of the nature of the field that you work in, you have to go from project to project. Sometimes you're returning to established worlds like Bridgerton, like Queen Charlotte. Or sometimes you're starting on something brand new. Or maybe you're even joining a project that's well into its lifespan. And you're fresh to the project. So how does that impact some of the creative choices you make? So what draws you to a project?
So I'm given the work that's handed down to me for the company that I work for, which is a blessing. I've been there for almost 9 years now. We work on most of Shonda's stuff, I believe all of it. And that's why I get to work on Grey's Anatomy and I get to work on. We also did For the People.
Inventing Anna.
That season finale was a doozy. It was an hour and a half. I remember that one. Snow, I think that was snow or raining at the end. Grey's Anatomy, I started on season 15, I want to say. And so Grey's Anatomy in particular has had multiple Foley artists work on that show throughout the years. It's been on now for 21 years, 21 seasons. So I was given notes from the previous artist. They like this character's shoe to be a little heavier. They like the cover of the goo coming out for the UV, for the ultrasounds, right? That needs to sound really gooey. They like that sound. So sometimes I'm given notes from previous artists if I'm taking over a show. It was different for White Lotus in season 2. I didn't do the first season, but because each season is completely different from the other one, I don't really need to have notes handed down to me like that. I would say, generally speaking, the first episode of a new show is the most challenging because I'm learning the characters' movements. I'm figuring out their walk pattern, their style. Are they heel toe? Do they walk a little bit more on their toe? Do they sidestep? What we call them scuff steps or stop steps. How do they stop their momentum? Is it just a 1-footer or is it a 2-foot stop? It's learning on a TV show, where is the carpet? what foot becomes a wood step to now a carpet step. And then we have to make sure we nail that perimeter for every subsequent character walking in that exact environment.
Yeah.
It's learning what shoes, because a lot of times you don't see the character's shoes on TV. So we become detectives and we listen to production and we go, oh, that sounds like a thick heel. And then we fast forward throughout the episode and we try and find a frame. If we can get one frame so we can see the shoe, that will help us tremendously.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the person accused the show will be like, oh, they're wearing a flat. We've walked them in a flat for half an hour and then it turns out to be a heel.
Oh, yeah.
Then we have to go back and redo all of their footsteps.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we know the shoe and we know the surface that they're on.
Because it must be nice for Bridgerton when you're in the Bridgerton drawing room and you're like, I know the space, I know the geography,
Yeah.
and you can breathe, and you've literally walked in these characters' shoes.
Yeah.
So you can step into the story.
Touching on what you just said about seeing the shoe, in season 3 in episode 1, you see Colin walking out down the gangway with his boots.
Pirate shoes.
You see that right away.
When he's being shown for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a very interesting reintroduction to Colin, right? He looked very swagger and like what he was wearing, right?
Yeah, his swishy coat.
Yeah, he was wearing a leathery outfit almost. And so we gave him like a particular movement for that, and his shoes too. Normally Colin is in like a tappier shoe,
Yeah.
right? It's got a little bit more of a click, but clearly that was a boot.
Yeah.
I have to be able to play that in a boot. I could tell you that the same shoe I gave Colin in that scene, I would use for Owen in Grey's Anatomy in his particular outside gray shoes.
Oh, interesting.
To me, like my shoes are like a musical instrument, right? Like I know the tonality of the shoes and I could tell you which character on which show I like to be wearing what shoe.
That is so cool. We call him Pirate Colin
Yeah.
around these parts. So thank you for your contribution to Pirate Colin.
He was a little piratey, for sure.
Yeah.
You have been just unbelievably generous with your time and knowledge, and we won't hold you for much longer, I promise. It's so clear from our conversation that we've had that Foley Artist put the most incredible amount of care and detail into creating these soundscapes. And by treating it as a character, you're helping to tell the stories that we see, hear, feel on the screen. I just wondered what makes you the most proud about Foley Artistry and about your work.
I had a difficult time finding meaning in my job for quite a while. I think, what am I doing, right? There's doctors saving lives. It was a very big like identity thing I was going through for a little bit, right? And trying to find out self-worth, I suppose. And with the help of my wife, I think it was mostly during COVID times, she helped me realize that like people need an escape from reality, right? They look towards these TVs and these movies to escape their everyday so they can watch TV once a week if it's a weekly show and talk about it with their friends. And so I'm proud of the fact that I can help people when they need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know it sounds kind of weird for like a Foley artist to say that, but like truthfully, like if someone's having a shitty day and it makes them better and it makes their day better to watch Bridgerton, and my crunchy bite can make them laugh and have a better day.
And it has.
Cool. Then like there's worth in my job to me then.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm most proud of that more than anything.
And escapism in any format is so important. And being connected to human stories is so important. Giving people escapism and human connection and stories. I think there's so much value in that.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. I think with the way things are, I think it's necessary. You know, my job in particular takes me from a dojo to a hospital, to the queen's room under her bed, looking up at it, to like anywhere in between. And so it's cool that I don't want to say my audience because I don't have an audience, as you know, no one's watching my content. Like I got to watch Mitchell's Foley.
We are.
But like the amount I work on spans so many fans. So it's cool that I can help so many people with catching a break.
Yeah.
Pretty stoked on that. And I'm very thankful that this is just, before we wrap up, a general note to people who are, you know, not attempting to get into the industry, but just seeking something that they're wanting to do.
Yeah, for sure. Please.
There is hard work that needs to be done, and you have your dues to pay. And you have to work hard. You have to say yes. You have to take opportunities. You have to take unpaid opportunities. If there's something you're really passionate about and really, really want to do and know that's what you were meant to do, as long as you keep at it, in my mind, personally, I think it's achievable.
Yeah.
It may take you a very long time, but as long as you continue to work hard, always, all the time, just working hard, you can definitely achieve it. So I'm very lucky to be here with you two. If you would have asked me 15 years ago, I was doing sound for airplanes.
Yeah.
So through a lot of luck and hard work, and I will say being a team player has helped tremendously in being communicative with your surrounding teams. I'm here with you today. And it's very cool. It's very, very cool. I'm very lucky.
And kind of like you touched on earlier, too, your willingness to keep learning and open yourself up to other opportunities and new ways of doing things, I feel like is very important.
And your appreciation of the journey.
Yeah.
It's not just getting from A to B, but what you learn along the way of doing it.
Yes, I completely agree with you both. Anyone who could teach you anything, whether, like I mentioned earlier, someone green walking onto my stage or someone who's been doing it for 40 years, there's something to learn. There's someone who can teach you. And thankfully, I know how to walk in heels really well. It's helped me very much. So now when your fans listen and they see the moms and the daughters walking down for the introduction for the season, they can imagine a bearded bald dude in heels. I'm stoked for that.
It's magic.
As one final question, is there a type of genre you've never worked on but would love to create the Foley for? Or what projects do you have coming up in the future?
I can't say what I'm about to work on, but it's an adaptation of a movie, which I'm excited to do. It's a TV show adaptation, which should be very cool. I've worked in animation, few and far between. I was lucky enough to work on a show called Tumbleleaf, which is kind of like a preschool claymation show. And I loved it. I love animation because animation, there's no dialogue to listen to compare it to. I make up all the sounds.
Yeah, of course.
And if it's right, it's right. And I think that's right. And so I would like to work on more animation. I try and put feelers out into the world to try and get some more of that. I've done a few horror movies. Those are fun. The scary, shocking sweetener sounds are really fun to do. Yeah, but I'd probably say more than anything is I definitely would like to work on animation more. It's a little harder in some regard because there is no sound there and I have to make everything. But it is so much fun. It is so much fun. Like coming up with the sound of a shell walking. What does that sound like? Oh, I know. I'll do it. And the audience will think that's right.
What you're saying, Foley, is exaggerated. In animation, it's even almost more exaggerated just because of how silly and quirky and eccentric those worlds can be.
Absolutely, for sure.
That is amazing. And we look forward to, I was going to say seeing everything, but hearing everything that you do. And fingers crossed we'll see you for all the many worlds that Bridgerton take us on in the future.
I hope so.
But Mitchell, we've had the most fun today.
Awesome.
Honestly, it has just been the greatest time. We feel so honoured to speak to you about your craft. It's so appreciated, not just by us, but by the fans, by our listeners who I know will just have had a whale of a time listening to everything you shared. Sound and Foley just create such character and such atmosphere, and it plays the most crucial role in TV and film, and it makes those worlds that we love just feel alive. And it brings the magic to life. So from us, thank you so much.
For sure. I appreciate the time. I would say if people want to learn a little bit more about Foley, they can follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, I love your page.
Yeah, it's called Sounds Like Mitchell. I don't post too often, but it gives you a little sneak peek of props that I've used, how I perform. I do some Q&As if you want to ask some questions. I do those more regularly. And yeah, thank you ladies very much. And to everyone listening, really so thankful for the fans loving the world. It's so cool. It's so freaking cool. And I'm very honored that there's people who listen to the Foley. So thank you.
Again, thank you for being so generous with your time. And like you said, you do share some really wonderful videos on your social media account on Instagram, and you're very generous to share those glimpses of your work with fans. So please, to all of our listeners, please check him out at Sounds Like Mitchell on Instagram.
Cool.
But thank you again so much from all of us for speaking with us today.
Awesome. You two take care of yourselves. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Hello, everyone. It's later Obs and later Lecky here. A little post-interview debrief. Lecky, what a fascinating conversation. We just feel so lucky. It was one of those interviews where I wish that we had like a visual podcast because we just had like the biggest beams on our faces the entire time.
We were wrapped.
And we had so much fun.
Yeah.
It was like a dream come true for us because, I mean, we bonded. Like our friendship was based on us both having a love for like the most tiny, tiny, tiny details. That's how we became friends on Reddit, like sharing this love. And so to have the ability to speak to the man who has created that, and then not only created it, but who like loves it so deeply, was just a joy for both of us.
I think we mentioned this in this episode, but he was really so generous with his time. We spoke to him ages longer than we probably should have. And he answered all of our questions. And when we initially reached out to interview him, we decided that we were only going to ask him about basically that one Franz scene in episode 4, because he has such a large scope to his work.
Such a huge body of work.
Yeah, we didn't want to make him go back and like study all of the seasons of Bridgerton. And then he just kept whipping out all these Bridgerton details. So we were, like Ob said, just beaming. We were just so ecstatic. It was great. I don't know, just really impressed by him. Kind of like Erica Ockvis said, his willingness to continue learning and how important that is to be a creative. You're willing to collaborate with other people and to continue learning and growing as you go through your career. And I was surprised to learn how physical and strenuous his job is. And I was personally touched by, he was discussing how he didn't think that his work had much worth until recently, until he realized that bringing joy to people, it does have meaning. And I feel like all of us who love Bridgerton and like the escapism it offers, since it came out during COVID, we all realized how important that is. So that really touched me.
It's always been an emblem for that, I think.
Yeah.
I was so inspired by how Mitchell had this dream of this job for years, but the work that he's put into making it a reality. And it's that thing of having a dream, but also having hard work and a willingness to keep going. And I'm always inspired by the interviews that we have. It always reminds me of these people care so much about their work. And it really shows you that, you know, you can pursue these creative endeavors, but it's also the journey of it as well, where you learn the most.
And they do take a tremendous amount of work. Go check out his Instagram. Go look him up on Reddit. On Reddit, there's a video of him doing that one scene he mentioned from season 2 of The White Lotus, where he's like splashing around in this tub of water. And at the end, he lets out like the biggest sigh because he's just absolutely exhausted. That's how much effort he puts into just doing that one scene.
And it's a reminder of how much work goes into the show from all these different teams. If you think there's 900 to 1,000 sound effects that he creates for each episode of the show, and every single one he's putting thought into the creation of that to create the world. I think that's amazing. And it is such an immersive world. That's what we love so much about it. And I think we feel the benefit of that every single time we step into it. So to hear the behind the scenes of how that is and the thought processes that goes in and all the funny details about the, you know, the unexpected elements of bringing those sounds to life, it was just so much fun.
I also like how he talked about how Foley is filling out the world using like brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a poetic way to describe.
Adding texture.
Yeah. I also have to say that going back and trying to make collages, we're going to try to do some audio ones. We'll see how it pans out. But he was talking about this little train that he uses the squeaky wheel for like jewelry boxes. And then Ob's finding in 306 the scene where Colin presents Penelope with her engagement ring has the same little squeaky wheel sound.
You could hear the squeak.
It's amazing. That was so fun.
Was so charmed to hear about the diamond shoe.
Oh, yeah.
That's just so lovely that there's this connection between all of the female leads of the show.
Auditory connection, yeah.
I'd never think that, but it makes so much sense. It's so lovely. And the class differences as well that he's created and how that's going to play in season 4.
Where they're going downstairs, yeah.
All these details. I think if you've taken anything away from the interview, it's how much the creatives care so deeply about the work they do in this show. And I think we all feel that. And it was just the most fun to speak to Mitchell. So we are so grateful for the opportunity. And as we said, we'd literally been wanting to speak to him since we first had that crunch on the 16th of May.
To be honest, it was actually probably way before that.
Well, we've always mentioned them in our rewatches.
So yeah, this has been a long time coming.
And speaking of Lecky, I have a little game for you planned. I don't know if you'll be a willing participant.
Oh dear. Okay.
And it's a game that's just one-sided because I can't play the game.
I have to do all the work? Okay.
Yes, because I've created it. I kind of hope this will work. I have selected a couple of sounds, there's not many, from across the show.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make you guess what they are.
Oh dear, all right. Hopefully I don't crash and burn.
I think you can do it. They're not that hard. They're all, in the words of Mitchell, they're all A sounds. So they're all sounds that are sort of prominent, story-driven.
Right, we'll see how this works.
They're not hard. I promise they're not hard.
Okay.
Okay, it's called Sound Game. Very, very innovative.
This sounds very fun, but I wish I wasn't doing it alone.
I know.
I don't know the answers.
I know. Before we got on, Lecky was like, I'm having a terrible day. I don't need anything else thrown at me. And I was like, oh no.
I'm really flustered today, I said.
I'm going to push her over the edge. Right. Okay. We're going to start off with a really easy one. Okay. This is so easy.
All right. Okay. It's the fencing sounds from 202.
That is correct. Here is the full version for you.
Well, I'm the victor of every match today.
See, I knew you'd be good at this.
It was also the moaning in the background that helped.
This was what was so difficult, right? I was trying to find sounds. There's not many, there's like 6. And they've all got music associated with, like a lot of them, it's hard to find a sound that isn't scored as well.
Yeah, and if you take the music out, sometimes it'll dull those sounds because they're all mixed together.
I don't know how to remove the sound, babe. I barely knew how to do this. Okay, well done. You got that one. I knew you'd get that one. Again, pretty easy.
All right.
You can play it again.
Is it like a stack of Lady Whistledown papers?
Kind of. It's a stack of papers, but what's happening to them?
Well, I mean, they're being like shuffled.
More than shuffled. Listen to the other sounds.
Sold?
No, hang on. Have I sent you the right one?
It's definitely papers being shuffled, and then there's like talking in the background after.
They're not being shuffled, and then they're not Lady Whistledown papers.
It's not the printer who wears the hat of printed papers. There's definitely a sound in the middle there, but I don't know what it is. What the hell is this? I don't know what it is. What is it?
Okay, are you ready for the longer version?
Yeah. Give it to me.
You're gonna hate yourself.
I'm gonna hate myself. Great. Oh, it's the fucking balloon? It's the fucking...
And you'd be so mad.
Okay. It's the papers blowing off the psychic's table when the wind kicks in 303. That's annoying.
I had to slightly edit the version I gave you because in the middle of the papers blowing and like the little toy balloon shuffling, there was like a northern guy being like, oh, bloody hell, that thing's coming loose. Or something. And I had to cut it out so you couldn't hear it.
Oh, that's annoying.
Okay, I'm still proud of you. Okay, this one might be kind of tricky. The clue I'll give to this one is it's an A prop, and it's kind of enhanced as well because it's an A prop Lecky.
Trying to think of what would sound like that.
It's kind of distorted. The sound in the show, it's emphasised and it's distorted because it's an A prop. What am I trying to tell you? But it's an A prop.
I don't know. My first guess was the bottle of poison from season 1, and I know that's not right.
You know what? I did consider getting the bottle of poison, but like this is
an A prop. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that's where you were going with that.
It's an A prop. The letter A.
Yeah, I know. Anthony. Yeah. But what the hell is this? Let me think. Why is it so echoey? What would be echoey with Anthony? I don't know. A flashback at Aubrey Hall?
What would be echoey? It's a prop that changes everything in the show.
Oh, it's the bangle from 206.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake. Okay.
It's like I knew Lecky would not enjoy this game. I regretted it as soon as I did it. I was like, oh, she's going to be mad. It's distorted because he's in sort of his head.
Yeah. Because it bounces. All right.
Okay, I'll give you the full version to put you out of your misery. I was going to cut it so it had Anthony's voice in it. I think I actually cut it so it has the minister's voice.
I, Lord Anthony Bridgerton.
Oh, yeah, I would have got that. You should give me the longer one. It's not fair.
No, because that's the answer, Leck. Right, an easy one. If you don't get this, we're not friends anymore.
All right.
If you don't get this, everything we've built together over our 3 years of friendship has been for nothing.
Oh, no. Too much pressure. What the fuck is this?
I know you can do this.
Hold on. Is it the top? The top of the cake? No. What is it?
Listeners, you're all supposed to be guessing, by the way. I forgot to tell you that. So just retrospectively guessing. Sorry, guys. Come on, what's the sound?
What's the sound?
Describe it.
Is it a spoon in the cup?
No, close. Our friendship, Leck. One of our favourite little moments.
It's not Penelope cutting... No.
No. Not Penelope. It makes you sad.
Oh, okay. This is Sad Teacup Colin. For fuck's sake, from 204.
It's sad teacup Colin.
I needed way too many clues for that.
Here you go. Here's the full one.
Remarkable, yes. In that I seem to have many remarks about it, do I not?
They're so hard out of context. Can you hear him?
Sad Teacup Colin.
Okay, we're almost at the end, and then I'll put you out of your misery.
Crashing and burning. Listeners, if you did better than me, just don't let me know.
She's on the edge as it is. She really can't handle this. This one, I think, is really easy because I chose it. Actually, I think it'll be really hard. Okay.
There's some sort of like piano noise at the end or something there.
No. Oh, I think that's just cutting into it's a chaotic scene. So there's a lot going on. Describe it to me, Lek.
It sounds like something wooden.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end, there's like a piano noise.
It's not big. Just leave the piano. I think that just might be the scoring. There's a wooden noise.
And this is relevant to Polin.
No. Oh, sorry. I should have said no. No, sorry. These aren't Polin sounds.
Okay.
An Olin is there.
And Olin is there.
Yeah, but it's not an Olin sound or a Polin sound. It's wooden, Lecky. It's wooden. I'm terrible at clues.
Is it Colin? No, I'm sorry.
No, Colin is there. But he isn't making the noise. He will make the same noise very soon, but he isn't making this. I'm so terrible at clues. It's another A prop.
Okay, so it's got to be the Bridgerton drawing room. What the fuck is this?
No.
It's not? Why is there a piano there?
There's no piano. There's no piano. It isn't a piano. I've just cut it badly, Leg.
You're going to have to cut this whole thing.
There might be a piano in the score. They're not in the room. They are.
All right.
Where would they be if they were not? If you're not inside, then you're...
They're outside playing cards.
No.
Oh, Lord. They're not inside, they're outside, right?
It's another A prop.
An A prop that sounds like this.
Like an A prop.
An Antony prop. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, give me at least the character, some more context. There's 3 seasons and a spin-off. Okay, hold on.
I didn't pick anything from Queen Charlotte. It's a wooden and it's an A prop. People are now screaming at you I hope you know.
Wood and Antony. Not the tree. This one. No, that's not it. Okay, hold on. What other scenes is he with wood? Kate slams the door on him is one of my favorite sound effects. I should have taken part in this. I'm going to return the favor, and it's not going to go very well for you.
Okay, we'll do it for Patreon.
All right.
People will be mad at you, is what I'm going to say.
You're going to be mad at me?
Anthony and something wooden. This now feels like an innuendo. Right, I'll give you the season. It's season 2, as in it's the sound of season 2. It's the prop of season 2.
Antony goes horseback riding. Antony... I'm trying to think, what the fuck does he do in season 2? That has to do with wood.
Oh, people can be mad at you.
He falls into the lake.
No.
It doesn't sound like that.
I said it's an Antony prop. Technically, at this point, it isn't an Antony.
It has nothing to do with Antony.
No, it's not in his possession at the moment. It is his prop, though. Someone else has the prop.
I don't know. I'm going to give up. I have no idea.
Oh, you're going to be so angry.
Great. Lovely.
The mallet of death.
Would you look at that, brother?
Oh, fuck's sake. Fuck off. That's not fair. Oh, God, I'm such an idiot. All right. Well, listeners, I hope you did better than I did. Completely slipped my mind that they did powwow. God damn it. Oh.
You've got one more, like.
No. Is it easy or hard?
It's easy because I know what it is.
I feel like next time more clues are appropriate.
Okay, so I should have also said that they weren't all Polin. Okay, this one is Polin.
Okay.
It's quite quiet. You have to listen quite closely.
That's not him walking off the boat.
No, he is doing some walking, though. That's going to lead you down the wrong path. Don't think about him walking.
Season, please.
3.
Oh, okay. He's walking over to his desk to open the drawer to get the letters. Thank you. Whew. I at least got it. I needed some clues, but thank you.
Yeah. I mean, here's the full one, which is just because he doesn't say anything in the scene. So the full version is just more of him walking. You did so
Poorly. 2 out of 7? What?
No, you got the fencing straight off.
Well, yeah. I did get the fencing.
The bangle, we got there eventually.
Well, yeah, I needed clues.
The letters, you got there.
Yeah.
And the teacup, you got there as well. I knew you'd be mad about the balloon. I thought you'd get that though. But then I did cut out anything that was helpful.
Yeah, I feel like if I'd had a little more context, I might have gotten it. And also, I thought they were pollen sounds.
I didn't clarify. So unfortunately, this will be the last episode of the podcast because Lecky will never speak to me again.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Lek. I hope you enjoyed.
I'll have to return the favor because that is a very fun idea. We could do that next time, potentially.
But there we go. We so hope that you've enjoyed the interview with Mitchell. He's just such a wonderful person, such a talented creator. You have to go follow him over on Instagram because he shares so much fun behind the scenes stuff of his work. And it's just the most fascinating, fun field. But yeah, we'll have all the links in the show notes. So go over, stay up to date, and let's see what's in store for season 4. Thank you so much, Mitchell. We're so grateful. We had the best time. And thank you all for listening. We will be back at some point. Happy May, by the way.
It is May.
Happy anniversary, season 1. Season 1? What are we talking about?
Season 3. Yes, happy anniversary, season 3.
Happy anniversary to something. We will be back at some point in May, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, where can everyone find us?
You can find us at What a Barb Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can do that on all the podcast platforms. If you prefer to watch the podcast with lovely collages, you can do that over on YouTube. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can come join us over on patreon.com/whatabarbpod. What do we have, Lek? We have
More sound games, apparently, coming.
Yeah, we have more sound games, potentially. We have costume games that upsets me and Lecky deeply. And Patreon is also the place where you can submit questions for our next rewatch, which will be episode 5, part 1, because we are going to split into 2. So any Burning Mirror questions, go drop over there.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, Beans, do us the honour and sing us out.
Das violin. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.